For this demonstration I will be showing you how to do throwing on the wheel. Particularly for throwing on the wheel, it's extremely important to wedge your clay. So in this hand I already have a piece of clay that's wedged. After you wedged your clay, to start out, since you're just starting, you want roughly the size of a grapefruit. You want to make it into a perfect circle, so you want to tap it around until it's as close to a circle as it is, and then you will just take a small amount of water, put it on the wheel, and throw the clay onto the wheel so it would stick and to be in a relative center. You have rings here on the wheel, so you can kind of see where the center relatively is. Doesn't have to be perfect, you will be centering the clay anywho. Secondly, you will need to familiarize yourself with the wheel. There is two switches on the side that you will be able to see. The first one is of course to turn on and turn off the wheel. The second switch determines the action of the wheel. If you're right-handed like me, you need to have your wheel turned counterclockwise because you need it to glide against your right hand. If you're left-handed, you need it to go clockwise because you will be using your left hand. Some of the tools you will be using for this will be, you will need a needle tool, you will need two sponges, you will need a metal rib, you will need a cutting wire to cut off the pot when you're finished, and you will need a wooden tool. One of the wooden tools, I particularly like this one because it has a relative angle to it that's relatively sharp, so it can easily be placed on the wheel, but that's up to you. You can use this side as well. You will be able to see in a bit how it's used. You will need a bowl of water. Fill it about halfway. There's a lot of clay that comes off your hands as you're wetting your hands and so forth, so you will have a bit of clay left over, and you will need a pedal, which is actually right here. The pedals stay in place once you hit the desired speed. Since I'm giving you definitions for everything being done right-handed, if you're left-handed, you will have to readjust everything and basically change every direction that I give you to a different or opposite direction. So I will start my wheel. The first step is centering of the clay. You want your wheel turning somewhat fast. You don't want to turn in all the way fast, the fastest that this wheel possibly can do, because then your clay will just fly off. Basically, the purpose of centering is for clay to really get stuck to the wheel head first of all. Secondly, if you have any small air bubbles, by centering it's possible to get those air bubbles out. And make the same consistency of clay, as well as center the clay evenly on the wheel. Obviously you can see the clay is wobbly. It would be impossible to throw a pot when the clay is still wobbly. So to center, and in general on wheel throwing, your right hand is always a dominant hand, and your left hand is always make a support hand. The first thing I will do is I will just hold everything with my right, and I will press on the clay, and now it's stuck on the wheel. Once it's stuck, you can notice it's wobbly, so we need to make it where it's not wobbly. At this point I will press with the right hand. With this one I will just gently place it to the side so the clay doesn't move, and what will happen is the clay will move up. Then I will press with the left hand from the top and just support the clay with the right hand. As I'm doing this, you might notice that my elbow is actually stuck in my leg or thigh, and that position is called the triangle of strength. And I'm actually using my entire body to push the clay. That way you're not wasting your energy, as well as you have a lot more control over a pot being thrown. So again, I will want to pull up more, even though it's pretty close. Then I will press with the Left hand, well, I am not allowing right hand to move anywhere. Every time that you're done with doing anything, you want to release pressure of the hands very slowly, so you don't want to just kind of let go, because you will notice instantly your clay will just wobble off on the wheel. And at this point I can actually start cracking or opening this to make a pot. At this point I will slow the wheel down. You don't want it to be going this fast. You want it to move roughly this speed. I will place both of my hands gently on the sides, and I will place both of my thumbs on top next to each other, and then while holding the clay on the side I will start cracking or opening the clay. Basically, in layman's terms, I'm making a hole for the pot. So I will just go exactly down the center. Each time you remove your hands, again make sure that you don't do it, that you do it very slowly, and you slowly release the pressure of the clay. And once you reach close to 1/4 of an inch depth, you can then just crack the pot. Once I'm close to the bottom, since at this point I can't reach easily, I'm gonna put my hand like this. Right hand supporting, left hand opening the pot. I will want my pot a little bit wider, so let's say this will be approximately the diameter of my pot. And you will use 2-sponge method. With 2 sponges, sometimes students have a little bit more control. I will slow the wheel down a little bit more. This is about how slow you want your wheel to go, and you want your sponges wet. You will place your sponge on the bottom and you will slightly press against the pot. I'm pressing with this hand. This hand is just being a support hand, not letting the clay move on the inside. So once I press, there is this little rim that gets created around the bottom. Once you get a small rim, you will basically pull up evenly the first time. Typically you will have some clay come off, and then you will place this again. Release pressure. I need to, if you feel some shaking or almost like vibration between the sponges, it means they're getting too dry. So then just slowly release the pressure. Pull up your pot. This part is called pulling, which means obviously your walls are really thick. And you will pull your pot up until your walls are roughly 1/4 of an inch thick all the way around. I will place my hand on the inside. I will just rest it on the rim, and I will press with this and my fingers on the inside, and then I will just pull up the pot. Gradually thinning it. At the same time it becomes thinner. The reason why I hold my 2 thumbs together right here on the top is your rim starts actually getting a little bit off, so it might start getting wobbly, and that's one way to center it. So when I hold my 2 thumbs like this, it's kind of a natural reaction that most of you will get, so you want to finish the pull of the pot by holding the 2 thumbs, which actually evens this particular rim. Every pot starts obviously as a cylinder. After you make the cylinder, to make the pot, if you need the pot to go to the outside, I hold my sponge on with this hand where this hand is sitting, and I push with the inside hand out, so applying pressure to the walls of the pot, so therefore making a bulge, and at the same time I will slowly be releasing the pressure. So the only reason I'm using just slight pressure on this hand is so that I wouldn't throw the pot off center on the wheel. So slowly with this hand I'm releasing the pressure, with this hand I'm pushing the pressure. So to do this, I will just hold it, and I need more water on my hand. I will just hold it and put the pressure here, and then I will just start applying the pressure with the hand inside of the pot. You don't want to apply too much pressure. If I wanted to bulge out some more and so forth, you might want to just slowly release the pressure and then keep doing that process 2-3 more times. You will take a needle tool and you will cut any excess off. So you will hold the needle tool, make sure it doesn't move. I will take the rim, smooth it all in. You will notice this stuff on the bottom that's kind of thicker. We will use the wooden tool for that. And you will basically hold your wooden tool, place it onto the wheel. It will not scratch the wheel. You don't want to use a metal tool because that scratches the wheel head. One last thing is, when you're finished shaping your pot into the desired shape, you will need a rib tool. Make sure it's just slightly wet. Again, make sure your hands are wet. You will shape the rib tool to the shape of your pot, just like so. And I just like to kind of go around gently and remove any rough spots on the pot. I will do one more pass. This can also shape your pot slightly if you have any lumps, etc., and make it really smooth. You're ready to cut off your pot. Typically it's not recommended that you wrap the wire around the fingers. If it gets caught on the wheel, you can say goodbye to your fingers, but it's just the way I've always done it, and this wire is so long that I can't keep track of it. So you will pass with the wire.